Professor McCartin will be next, and after him, Mr. Kirshner. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Liebman, members of the board, for giving me this opportunity to comment on the proposed rule change for representational proceedings. My name is Joseph McCartin. I'm an associate professor of history at Georgetown University, where I also serve as executive director of the Kalmanovitz Initiative for Labor and the Working Poor. Unlike many who have and will address you over the course of this session, I am not a lawyer, nor am I an employer, a union representative, or a worker whose fate will be directly affected by the proposed rule changes under consideration today. Rather, I come before you as an historian of the 20th century American labor relations, and as one who has written about the origins of the nation's policy toward collective bargaining, one whose present research is concerned with the problems of the nation's working poor. From my perspective as a scholar and a researcher, I would like to speak to several pertinent aspects of the proposed rule change. First, the proposed rule change provides a marked improvement over present procedures, in my view. It is responsive to the changing context within which your governing statute is applied in the real world, and yet it is modest in scope and content. Under present conditions, numerous obstacles can be raised to delay workers' access to a timely process through which to make a choice for or against union representation. This proposed rule change reduces the opportunity for those who specialize in creating delays in representational proceedings through duplicative appeals and pre-election litigation. Yet it does so without weakening due process or compromising the legal rights of any party to a proceeding. Beyond ensuring timely elections, your rule change also facilitates workers' right to obtain full, fair, and accurate information regarding whether to choose union representation. Employers have the right to speak to workers during work time and in the workplace about unions, whereas unions and pro-union workers do not. Many employers begin laying out their opposition to unions and collective bargaining during the orientation process for new employees. In any workplace setting where employers are opposed to the unionization of their employees, employees have ample opportunity to learn their employer's views. Indeed, they know those views well. Yet fair elections require that both parties have a chance to make their case to an electorate. Because unions can only communicate with workers away from the workplace, it is vital that employers provide promptly full and accurate contact information so that unions have the ability to provide their own information to workers in a timely manner. Your rule provides for this, and thus helps ensure that when workers choose for or against union representation, they do so with the full benefit of the full range of arguments before them. Your rule also modernizes the way in which workers can communicate with this board and its representatives, allowing the use of electronic technology. At a time in which workers increasingly send and receive information electronically, this change is an important improvement and will save both time and money. As an historian, I see these various provisions of your rule change united by a common theme, a good faith effort to respond to fundamentally significant changes in the context within which the labor law you are sworn to interpret and uphold operates. To put it simply, history has moved on in ways that have made your existing rules increasingly arcane and inadequate. Indeed, since the statute was last amended and the rules governing representational proceedings were last adopted, the context within which workers exercise their rights to organize and bargain collectively has changed markedly. A thriving industry of consultants has emerged who specialize in exploiting the existing rules not to protect the legitimate rights of employers, but rather to create whatever delays they can throw up in order to delay and thus obstruct workers' ability to choose a union. Employers have become decidedly more aggressive and persistent in their campaigns to dissuade workers from even considering exercising their rights guaranteed under the statute you uphold, while unions and pro-union workers have continued to operate under the handicap of having unequal access to workers in order to present their side of the issue. Since these rules were last revised, a communications revolution symbolized by the internet, email, smartphones, has transformed how Americans transmit and receive information. This changing context demands that rules be revised and updated in order to keep the fundamental balance between workers' rights and employers' rights that is provided for in your governing statute. This rule change is no radical revision. Rather, it provides a sober, fair, necessary, and timely modernization of procedures, one that keeps faith with the intention of the nation's labor law. Let me conclude by noting that the Wagner Act was born in an era in which inequality was rampant and growing, in which democracy was threatened across the world by totalitarianisms of the left and right. The industrial democracy that your predecessors helped implement through the Act played a crucial role in bolstering this nation's credibility as a bastion of democracy. What you have done through this rule, I believe, is to update the both letter and intention of the Act, which you are sworn to uphold and interpret, and therefore I come before you to speak in favor of this rule change. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your thoughts. Appreciate your perspective here today. Anybody to ask a question?
Thank you.
Thank you.